watched this big crackdown on asylum seekers. It's modelled on the Danish proposals that we've witnessed over the course of the last decade, although already some concerns coming in that it's a bit Danish light. It's a bit of a half-baked Danish pastry. I mean, for instance, let me point one thing out that sort of...
This important interruption is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Protect your money and your identity. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code here to get ExpressVPN right now and save up to 73% on annual plans today. Right, let's get back into it.
Rang alarm bells with me. You're saying, for instance, that you're going to review the safety of the country that the asylum seeker has come from every 30 months. That's a long period of time, isn't it, to review the status of a country? Why isn't it, for instance, every 12 months?
Well, firstly, it's really important that we get control and order to the border and the immigration system. And we are as frustrated as the public with the number of crossings. And the reason we see so many going into northern France to come over to the country is because of asylum shopping. Now, that's because for many we're seen as a soft touch, and the smuggling gangsters often package to those migrants that you're going to get better benefits here than you will in other places.
It's true, isn't it? We are a soft touch.
Not anymore. And of course, we've started strongly with record deportations and removals, up to 50,000 now. Our immigration enforcement rates are more than they've ever been in the history of the country.
So there is
now
some suggestions that some people have left voluntarily, and you're claiming it as a deportation, and it isn't.
Well, it's deportation and removals, and we're really clear on that. And now we're going further to ensure that people aren't shopping and then choosing us as a soft touch.
Okay.
So what that means is before, it would take 5 years before you're then almost automatically settling in the country. We're reducing that to 30 months. That's 2.5 years, halving it for a review, and also extending the time to right to settlement to 20 years. That's a significant change, which means it's less attractive to come here.
But this plan isn't going to do anything about the fact that people can come here illegally by dinghy and then get room and board at a 3, 4 or 5-star hotel.
Well, look, we're obviously...
That's the draw, though.
The whole point is to take away the pull factors. And we're also saying in this package, and you'll hear more tomorrow from the Home Secretary, that if you're committing crimes or if you can work and you're not, we can take away that support and benefits just to ensure that people aren't gaming the system and seen as a soft touch. So this is hard policy, which will have an impact.
Mr. Tapp, let's just square this circle, right? If we are going to give people room and board in hotels over and above the needs of British residents who complain about said hotels, for instance, in the instance in Epping, and are overruled because of planning policy reasons, right? If we're going to be saying that in this country you come here illegally by dinghy across the channel, and when you arrive, regardless of whether you've got paperwork, you haven't, you claim this, you claim that, you're going to be given room and board. That's the draw. People aren't going to be fleeing desperately or not, or be economic migrants and care much about how long it takes for indefinite leave to remain to turn into citizenship. They're coming here because they're getting hotel places.
Right. Well, firstly, they do care about the package that they receive. And I'll just get straight to your point on hotels. When we came into government, 400 were open. That's now down to 200. And we're moving them out of hotels to basic military sites. So that we're working with the MOD on that now. That's another part of this package to make it less attractive.
Every time you're online, your money and your identity are at risk. Scams now make up nearly 40% of all crime in the UK. That's thousands of attacks every single day. In Britain, someone has their identity stolen every 2 minutes, leaving victims with wrecked finances and years of stress. The threat is real, and you could be next. ExpressVPN is your shield against criminals. It locks down your devices, hiding your personal information and financial details from hackers, scammers, and anyone else looking to exploit you. So whether you're checking your bank, shopping, or just browsing, ExpressVPN makes you invisible to prying eyes trying to steal your money and your identity. ExpressVPN shields your data with military-grade AES 256 encryption. That's the same standard trusted by the US government to guard classified information. This is the highest level of online security you can get. So don't wait for disaster. Secure up to 14 devices at once and get powerful password protection. Real support is available 24/7 because cybercrime never sleeps. Save up to 73% on annual plans today. Every moment you hesitate is another moment you're exposed. Protect your money and protect your identity. Get ExpressVPN right now.
The other thing that you've introduced is an AI tool to root out adults posing as children. Are you seriously telling me that we need AI to establish whether a bloke arriving on a dinghy with a full beard who appears middle-aged isn't a child?
Well, you've used one example, and
I mean, there's plenty of examples like this.
I've been to the Western Jetfoil, and I've been shown pictures by the officers there where I've got to guess the age of some of these people, and it's really difficult. So bringing in extra tools to help us be more effective at that can't be a bad thing.
This isn't going to get past the left-wing backbenchers in the Labour Party, is it? I mean, we saw this with the welfare reforms that never really came off. Actually, welfare isn't going to come down very much at all over the course of the next Parliament, despite it shooting up to record levels. The winter fuel U-turn, again, prompted by a threatened rebellion. We've already got your colleague, Nadia Whittome, talking about how this policy is racist. That's going to be echoed over the course of the next few days. So you're going to struggle to get this past your own MPs, aren't you?
Well, it's my responsibility, along with Alex Noyes, the other immigration minister, and of course Shabana Mahmood as Home Secretary, to look at what's right for the country. And we can't continue down the route we are. We can't allow that asylum shopping to continue. So we're putting in these measures. And I've been speaking to colleagues all week about this, and it's really positive feedback that their constituents are going to receive this really well. Of course, you're occasionally going to get others that don't agree, but that's the same across all political parties. What we're going to do is drive this through to make the change to ensure that people aren't asylum shopping across Europe.
And then what happens is people lawyer up, and you find that you're going to be tied up in weeks and months of lawfare in the courts because we are still a signatory and part of the ECHR. So you can't really execute this plan without leaving the ECHR, can you? This is the other problem. This is the other fly in the ointment.
Well, I disagree with that. The way Denmark have reshaped their immigration system has been extremely effective, and they're within the ECHR. What we're saying, and you'll see more coming next week, is that we are looking at Article 8, Article 3 specifically to ensure that we use our domestic laws to make it fit for purpose, but also modern slavery. Far too many of these migrants at the last minute claim they've been subject to slavery. So, of course, we've got to protect those that are, but we're reforming that too to make sure it can't be used against us.
Actually, in Denmark, when people do claim their rights under the ECHR, they're then stuck in some kind of holding pattern where they can't be deported, and they're actually given room and board by the Danish authorities. So,
well,
again, I put it to you, the ECHR factor here is once again going to thwart these plans, as it did Rwanda, as it does any other attempt to get people out of the country because the numbers are far too high.
Well, Denmark have removed and deported 95% of failed asylum seekers. That's the route that we're going down. But we also have to remember that we are a compassionate country, and if they are genuine asylum seekers, we offer that help. It's British values. We're firm, but we're also fair.
Why don't we
when the likes of Nigel Farage and the Conservatives talk about the ECHR, have they done the maths around the collapsed trade deals, the peace talks,
I think Lord
and also
Wolfson
the returns
put together
agreements?
An 80-page report.
There's
for the
returns agreements that are underpinned by the ECHR.
Right.
They would all fall down, and we wouldn't be able to remove as many people.
You're criticising the Conservatives there. You might need them to carry this legislation through Parliament. If you have a massive rebellion on the Labour benches, Kemi Badenoch has rather magnanimously decided that she will lend support. How embarrassing will it be for Starmer to need to rely on the Tories to get this legislation through?
Look, I've been having conversations with colleagues. They all 100% behind this, the ones that I've spoken to. And the reason for that is because they know we need to deliver order and control to our borders.
Are you ruling out a rebellion over this? The Rachel Maskells, the Nadia Whithomes of this world are going to be supporting this plan?
Like I said before, in all political parties, you do have some voices that disagree with policy. But we're driving this through because that's what the country wants to see. And it is, of course, country first, because that's what we're in government to do. It's a real privilege to be one of the immigration ministers. And I know that the Home Secretary is a really true patriot.
Well,
she's determined to deliver this.
Mr Tapp, we would have loved to have spoken to her about this, but unfortunately she didn't have time for GB News this morning, despite our audience arguably being the most concerned about immigration in the country. Why didn't you just keep Rwanda?
Well, Rwanda was a failed scheme. It was a failed scheme.
No, it hadn't even started.
You
could have tried it out, seen if it's been a deterrent. It cost £700 million and only 4 volunteers were deported. Look, you look at the agreement with the French, which, by the way, is only a very small part of what we're doing. What are we paying the French
That's very much a pilot scheme. We've already deported over 100 there compared to the 4 that went to Rwanda.
What do the good people of Dover think about the millions that have been spent on the French helping us to solve this problem? They've done the opposite,
What we've got to bear in mind is we have inherited open borders, and the work we're doing with the French is really important. But I accept, the Home Secretary accepts that we haven't got there yet, and that you're going to see tomorrow a package of legislation that will help take away those pull factors to stop the migrants travelling through France to come here, because France isn't a dangerous country. We're
running out of time, so let's move on to other matters and talk about the budget on November the 26th. Why do you think that Rachel Reeves is now the least popular Chancellor in history? Only 71% are dissatisfied with her. Only 29% of the population thinks she's doing a good job.
One of the frustrations that we all have with politics is how long it takes for changes to deliver. And we've seen some positive changes in the economy, 5 interest rate cuts. Well, 5 interest rate cuts.
Growth is just tanked to 0.1%.
We've seen 3 million, including a large number of my constituents with £1,300 extra in their pockets from the minimum wage rise. Right. So these things are positive. But by the way, I'm not...
Not if you're paying the minimum wage,
What I'm not doing is saying that it's all rosy.
How many constituents have got £1,300 extra this year?
Per year, so 3 million across the country. That's significant.
So constituents who happen to be on the minimum wage are doing well. People paying the minimum wage aren't doing well, are they? As the Sunday Express said, the budget is planning a bloodbath for shops and pubs.
It's really important that Rachel Reeves sticks to her philosophy of that fiscal rules and creating that headroom. We've already seen the highest growth in the G7, which, by the way, is minimal, but it still shows that what we're doing is heading in the right direction, and she will go further on that.
The trouble is, the Chancellor doesn't know what she's doing, does she?
I completely disagree with that.
Well, sorry, hang on a minute. We get the pitch roll of we're going to cut income tax. She says it in a speech. 2 weeks later, actually, we're not going to do that. We don't know what we're doing. We might lower tax thresholds, which is a tax rise anyway. She hasn't got a clue what she's doing. They're literally writing the budget right now, and they keep on chopping and changing it with all of this ludicrous pitch rolling that's taken place over the last 6 months.
There's often rumours about rumours in politics. That's not...
No, she said they were going to put up tax. She said it in a speech, Mr. Tapp.
What we've got to remember here is that we do have a very difficult fiscal picture that we've inherited. We're heading in the right direction. And look, if our growth in the first part of this year is higher than the Americans, then it shows that we're heading in the right direction. But there's still a hell of a lot of work to do.
I don't think it's going to be higher than the Americans, but we live in hope.
The highest in the G7 in the first part of this year.
Mr. Tapp, Mike Tapp, thank you very much indeed for joining me today.